Good evening. I'm Jerry McIntosh, and this is Our Voices, the People's Media. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the redrawing of districts in Texas. It is so important that we address these issues, and also the unemployment rate of African Americans, in particular Black women in this country. We're going to address that along with other hot topics. Be sure to tune in. You can catch us right here on WBQP TV, Roku, Fire Stick, YouTube, and of course, all of our Facebook page. But we'll go to our host, Mr. Derek Scott, who is with the Escambia County Democrat Party. Also, Vernon Watson, where you'll be watching this show on WBQP TV. And I hope Jill and the rest of them come in later on this evening. But we're going to get right to it, Derek.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We hope that you had a wonderful week. We will go ahead and start with a round table, and I'll start with you, Mr. McIntosh. If you could just also share with us how Ms. Sheila's party was. We never did hear how it went and whatnot, and then whatever else you have to share.
Oh, she had a birthday party. It went really well. It was really nice. She enjoyed it. I know that, but it was a really, really nice party. But it went really well. But
Jerry,
there was a lot of people there.
you tell Sheila I didn't get an invitation. I feel snubbed.
Okay. She might be watching. She might.
Yeah, I'm feeling snubbed. I didn't get an invitation to a party. Tell us it's a little stinky party. Okay. She's going to be like that. Okay. That's the way she's going to act.
Now, it wasn't a party. It wasn't a party. Now, you had to pay to get in there. You had to pay to get in. So that's what time
I
it
didn't
was.
I didn't get an invitation to pay.
Hey.
All right. So she's going to be that way, huh?
I'll make sure let her know.
Derek, were you invited?
Well, not directly by Miss Sheila, no. But I know
Did you crash it?
Mr. McIntosh did send me the invitation.
Okay. Did you crash it, or did you attend?
No, I didn't attend. If I'm honest, I was like, "Ooh, that's a hefty entrance for a birthday party." So I sat down right here. So
Oh, you sat that one out, huh?
I sat down. A little rich for my blood. So
wow. All righty then.
Also, Derek, the scholarship, we extending the scholarship into August. The Carol McIntosh, sorry about that. The Carol McIntosh scholarship is extended into August, and they can pick up the scholarship application at Moon for Change. That's at 1603 North Davis Highway, or give me a call at 850-206-3776, or they can go by Jacqueline Harris Preparatory Academy and pick up the application from Miss Celestine Lewis, who is the principal and CEO over there. So they got two options, two places they can pick up the application. Right.
well, thank you for that. Mr. Vernon, do you have anything?
No, Derek. I don't have anything for the good of daughter.
Okay. Well, I guess I will share. I'll start with, in Jill's absence, start with a couple of things that are happening in Okaloosa County, just so everybody is aware. I'm trying to get to everything. Bear with me just a second. The Okaloosa Democratic Black Caucus it would like for you to join them at two important events that they have this year. The first of which is for Senior Airman Roger Fortson, which is going to be on August the 11th. The time is still yet to be determined. It's going to be a rally and then pack the courthouse on that day. The family wishes to make sure that the community comes alongside of them and hold those responsible for the senseless murder of their son accountable. So please make sure that you put that on your calendar. Again, that is on August the 11th. The time will be determined, so please check back for further details on that. And that's going to be over in Okaloosa County. The second event that we have, and let me see if I can pull a better one, is on Saturday, August the 16th. Many of you have been a part and have heard of Equal Ground before, but Equal Ground will be hosting their Panhandle 2025 legislative session debrief. That's going to be in Fort Walton on Saturday, August the 16th. The doors will open at 8:30. We'll start with breakfast and then go into the program. It is going to be at Greater Peace Missionary Baptist Church, which is located at 101 First Street Southeast there in Fort Walton. This is a free event. Breakfast and lunch will be served. Again, it's completely free. It is sponsored by Equal Ground in partnership with the Northwest Florida Panhandle Coalition for Civic Engagement, Real Women Radio Foundation, Moving for Change, the Okaloosa, Santa Rosa, and Escambia branches of the NAACP, and other civic groups here in Escambia and Santa Rosa and Okaloosa County. Again, if you've never been to an Equal Ground event, this is your great opportunity to hear what's happened in terms of the legislative session that the state of Florida just concluded, what things will impact you, laws that were signed in that affect you as a person here in the state of Florida that went into effect effective July 1st, things that you need to look out for, things that are coming up, and just get a better sense. And that's going to be the morning session. We'll break for lunch and we'll get some great food, again, that is totally free. And then right after lunch, we'll go into a session that's very specific to the Panhandle with respect to how we plan strategically and effectively for the 2026 election cycle. As you know, this is going to be the midterm. There's an opportunity for us to shift what's happening in our local counties as well as cities, the state and the nation. But in order to do that, we have to be prepared and come with a strategy and execution. So please make sure you come out. Again, this is a free event. If you have questions, you can call any of us, either Jill or myself or Mr. McIntosh. If you are interested in coming, you can register at mobilize.us/mobilize/event/806658. Or if you look at the top of this, and I'm going to make this big so everybody can see that little QR code. If you take a moment, hold your telephone up to your screen, your camera, and scan that QR code, it will open the website so you can register in advance. Again, that is Saturday, August 16th. If you need a ride, there'll be plenty of people that are coming from Escambia County, from Pensacola, driving over. If you need a ride from Santa Rosa, there'll be plenty of people coming from there. And Okaloosa, I'm sure if you need a ride to Fort Walton, if you're not in Fort Walton, if you're in Crestview, if you're in Niceville, Valparaiso, Laurel Hill, wherever you are in Okaloosa County and even Walton County, please make sure you join us. That's Saturday, August 16th. We're looking forward to this. If you've forgotten exactly again who Equal Ground is, if you went to the Juneteenth banquet that was sponsored by Movement for Change, you saw their current executive director, Genesis Robinson. He gave the keynote address at the Movement for Change Freedom is Not Free banquet this year. So again, we're hoping that everybody will come out. This event is always well attended. So I know people look forward to it. So this is where it's coming around. And this year, again, it's in Okaloosa County. So we look forward to everybody coming out for that. If we move forward, just keep in mind that the both the Scambia and Okaloosa Democrats will have their monthly Democratic Party meeting on Tuesday, August the 21st. No. I'm sorry, Tuesday, August the 19th. Excuse me. Ours will be here, and Scandia's will be at the Tryon Branch Library. And I'm not sure if Okaloosa will be at the Niceville City Hall or the Crestview Resource Center. I'm not sure, but stay tuned for that, and we'll have more information on that. Please make sure that you visit. And I guess once we go through that, we'll talk about. I want to spend a little bit of time. We talked very at detail length. It was the topic of our entire show. So again, last week, thank you to Jermaine and Jonathan Green, and Clarissa Shumo for coming on. But we talked about the changes that were happening at the Fricker Center. And, it's quite unfortunate, as we're seemingly on the cusp of change, but we got to remember that people are playing chess. And so we always have to play chess too. They were supposed to have their second community input meeting this past Thursday at the Fricker Center. And the mayor decided to cancel it or reschedule it. And he rescheduled it for August the 13th at 8 a.m. And, they said they were making sure it was accessible to seniors. But really what they're doing is making sure that those young folks who want to have input, they want to make sure that they're at work and can't, be there. But we're going to show up and make sure we show up. So please make sure.
Hey, Derek.
Yes.
Did you say 8 a.m.?
Mm-hmm, that's what it's
8 a.m. in the morning?
In the morning, when people are trying to take their children to school, when people are trying to get to work, they want to have a Fricker Center community input meeting. Ain't that trifling? It's trifling, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The strategy was to keep people from coming to that other meeting. I canceled my other meeting, and then I had to end up going to the one other day, Thursday. But I'm glad that, because I was watching y'all on Facebook, I'm glad that y'all went on and made sure that the meeting took place, and that he could not let him know that he didn't have the authority to cancel meeting that y'all had called. And but to play games, then he want to put it at 8 o'clock in the morning. But as if people will not get up and go at 8 o'clock.
Right.
I intend to be there at 8 o'clock that day.
Yeah. It's we got a lot. Pensacola's going through a lot, and it's a lot of change. But with change, again, this is what we talk about, the importance of having a strategy and what we need to do, coming together as a community to do some things different. And it's about that time. And it's unfortunate that these things are happening. Well, don't get me wrong. I think the renovation for the Fricker Center is a great thing. Now, what they do with those renovations, how they impact it, that's going to be changed. But we look at the things that are happening here in Pensacola with gentrification, with the movement, the displacement of Black people, the upsurge, uptick in the number of unhoused people and what they're doing, and the lack of affordable housing. It's time for some change. And I'm hoping that people are starting to see with their own eyes how this is impacting them personally. Let's start to make some change to something. So that's, you said what?
I was going to say, we hit on a little bit the other night, but HUD is talking about cutting 50% of the budget that goes to help people in housing. They also cutting the budget that help people heat their homes and stuff of that nature. So if they cut 50% of that budget, that means it's going to be a whole lot of more unhoused people. And then Trump signed some kind of executive order that you cannot be unhoused and live on the streets. So they're going to pack the prisons and jails with people that are unhoused and force them to work for free, as if in some of these places they're already doing. Got people picking cotton and all of that, picking fruits and stuff, and for free. That job that should be going to other people that pays a salary, but now they are forcing the people that's in the system to do that work, and that means more people are going to be put out of jobs as a result of that.
So that's all we have. At least that's all I have. I'm gonna BJ, Dr. Bruni, BJ Brunius has joined us, fresh out the ER. So welcome. Thank you, BJ, for joining us. If you could share with us anything that you have that you think the folks in Santa Rosa County need to know, or things that you're doing, or anything that's beneficial for the community.
Yeah, so the Santa Rosa County Democratic Black Caucus just had the fish fry yesterday, which is basically their annual social, which also doubles as a fundraiser. And so we had pretty good turnout. So Christina Forrest, who can't be with us tonight, just wanted to make sure that the community knew how appreciative the Black Caucus was for everyone who attended. The Santa Rosa County Democratic Party meeting is on the third Thursday in August, which I believe is the 19th. Let me double check on that. Sorry, the 21st. And that's going to be 6 o'clock up in Milton. The Black Caucus meeting is the Tuesday before that, which would be the 19th. And that's going to be a virtual meeting via Zoom. But other than that, that's all I've got.
I got something for you. I won't pick on you, but I'm going to ask the question. How was the protest on Saturday? I know you were there. How was it? Tell us about it. What had happened?
So I wouldn't call it a protest.
Okay.
I would call it a honk and wave again. But it was basically a group of people who sort of came together basically to be in community with one another. It was my understanding that basically the gist of it was that people need to know that they're not the only ones that don't like what's going on, because maybe there's a feeling of isolation, or people think that they're the only ones who think that this is crazy. And so what I think it mainly accomplishes that people sort of see that there are other people out there who think that what's going on is insane. So I'm not really sure what they were protesting. I'm not really sure what being in front of being in front of City Hall, what was that meant to accomplish? There didn't really seem to be any demands of the city council or the mayor of Pensacola. So the location was a little odd, but these young people, you got to let them do their thing, and I don't want to get in the way of them. So I was just there mainly as an observer to try and see and give them a voice in whatever way I could possibly give them. So.
Yeah. Mr. McIntosh and Mr. Vernon, did you all go out to the protest?
I did not.
When this Saturday? No, I didn't get a chance to go.
I wouldn't have mind, but I have to work on Saturday, so I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, I was working myself this Saturday.
Maybe we should invite some of the organizers from 5051 on the show, just to kind of talk about their concept and their strategy and what they hope to accomplish, so that people have a little bit more insight and visibility as to who they are, what they do, and why they do it. Always food for thought.
That would be great, Derek.
Well, good. I know that there's another protest coming up at the end of the month. I think it's the Saturday prior to Labor Day, Memorial Day. whatever day that is.
Labor Day, yeah, Labor Day.
There's another one coming up then, so we can get some further insight and look into what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish and how we can, if there's a way to fit in to bring it all together, maybe there's an opportunity for us. So I'm excited. Good. All right. Turn it back over to you, Mr. McIntyre.
First of all, I just want everybody to know that Trump done called Greg Abbott out in Texas to redraw the districts out there in mid-decade. Usually after the census is when new lines are drawn, new districts are drawn. But now in Texas, they are already rejoined the district, and they redraw the district that Jasmine Crockett was in. They drew her. It's supposedly drew her out of her district as of right now. And you can check that, Derek, and see. But that's what I was reading, and it's really atrocious what they are trying to do as a power grab in this country to continue to help Trump with his dictatorial, autocratic, totalitarian crap that he's trying to do in this country to us. So it is a test. If we they're going to test the will of the American people, and they are doing it. And it seems like they are getting away with a whole lot of things. But I heard Governor Newsom out in California said they were going to try to do the same thing. And I think if Texas do that every Democrat state, like California, New York, Illinois, Maryland, and other states, should follow suit and redraw the districts in the mid-decade, before the census, since they're doing it, because it don't make sense for us to follow the rules, and they breaking the rules each and every day. So I remember Martin Luther King said in one of his speeches, said, it's not right to obey an unjust law. And so these unjust laws that are being passed, that are being done by the state legislators and by Greg Abbott in the state of Texas.
Jerry,
go ahead.
What is it that the Democrats always try to follow the rules and not being polite about it? Okay, I don't understand it. Why we playing so nice when we be getting kicked in the nut? I mean, when we being kicked down below. Why, Derek? Can you help me with that?
Well, honestly, I think this is the time we're seeing them not being playing nice. Every one of the democratically led states, has said, they've said, try it if you want to, do it. I dare you. That's they keep saying, and Gavin Newsom has led that charge.
The Republican Party is a habitual line stepper.
So I think they're saying, all right, cool, go ahead, do it. We got you, and then to the point that I think Gavin Newsom, let's be clear, in the state of California has the most has the highest number of representatives than any other state, with Texas being number 2, right? So when you look at in terms of where that's going and what that looks like, Texas they're talking about picking up a net of what? I think it's four or so seats if the congressional districts or the congressional maps are redrawn in the state of Texas. But if California does that, they pick up a net of 7 or 8. So, net, y'all are still down. And that puts, if they do that, that would put Democrats in the lead, in terms of official House from a representative standpoint. Let's say all things being static, right? That puts Democrats in the lead. So, puts them in control of the House. So, I mean, if you look at it, like they're saying, go ahead. Well, let's see what you do. Bark, go ahead, jump. And that's it. If you feel it, frog, you lead. That's what I think he said. They're saying, and I just wanted to play the clip.
So you're saying that you're saying that the Democrat Party getting the message now? Fight with fire.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I think that everybody's come to the realization that we are in the business of playing by the rules against people who have no rules. And so when they have no rules, there's no point of trying to follow rules because the rules don't exist. So if you can do it, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I think people are coming to that realization. I think Gavin Newsom said it. I fully think that they are committed and ready to go. If Texas goes down the road, continues to go down the road, I think California will go down the road. I wanted to play what Representative Crockett had to say on this matter as she's talked about it. Give me 1 second, let me pull it up.
Hey, Derek.
I mean, those are the numbers. President Trump did win the majority of the Hispanic votes in the state. In fact, he flipped, I believe it was 10 counties in the state. So don't you think that is reflective of this map, this proposed map, that the minorities who are here with the new minority districts that have been created, it is reflective?
No, Representative, I don't. Again,
Okay.
It's just based upon, this is just pure math. Like, I'm not trying to pick who is going to vote for who, because as it was stated earlier, the idea that anybody is a monolith is wild anyway. Right? Because first of all, Latinos down at the border, they are not the same as Latinos, say, in the DFW or in Harris County. So I don't want to pretend as if any minority group is a monolith, which is one of the reasons that we talk about communities of common interest, because we work together and we function together and we do things a little differently. I'm sure there are even black folk in Houston that will argue that they're not the same as Dallas black people, right? So it's an ongoing thing. But nevertheless, what I will say is that is why you shouldn't just be grabbing up people from wherever and saying, oh, well, they all the same race. It is bigger than that. It is trying to make sure, and you brought up compactness earlier. And so compactness is one of those things that you consider as well, because again, it is different. When you look at a state the size of Texas, you know how many states you can fit in our state, right? So thinking about it in that way, a reflective map would look like the fact that only 39% of this state is Anglo. So how in the heck do we have 60% of the seats that go to DC are going to be decided by Anglos? That's the math that doesn't work. We need to flip the numbers so that people of color, no matter who they vote for, if they decide they're voting for Trump, and you're right, because of the 13 democratically elected seats in the state of Texas, one of those seats was a majority white seat. That's it. Everybody else, it was people of color that sent us to DC. But when we look at the Republicans, of the 25 seats, 23 of those seats are Anglo majority seats. 2 of those seats, Latinos are the ones that chose. And I don't have a beef with that. That's who they elected, and that is perfectly fine. So they have 2 Anglo seats that are 2 Latino opportunity seats that elected Republicans. That is perfectly fine. People vote for who they vote for, but don't divide our communities and dilute our voices. And that's why we're here, because we feel like we're being diluted because we're packing black folk, or the bill author mentioned that there's some district that went up to over 70-something% Latino. That is packing. You don't need almost 80% Latinos for that district to perform as a Latino opportunity seat.
And so you don't agree with the new minority Hispanic seats? Because
I don't agree with this map.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mann, you'll recognize the question of the panel. As soon as we get the microphone going.
I don't know if it's okay. I'm going to try to be really quick because I don't want to belabor the point. I have a question really for all of you. Congresswoman Garcia. Congresswoman Crocker brought us something very interesting, and she was saying, we are different. Southeast Texas is different from West Texas, East Texas. One thing that we know historically is always done is to pit minorities against each other and make them to fight over scraps. Can you explain what is happening with these congressional districts in Harris County are forcing communities of interest to fight one another? And any example that you can tell me of how that has been historically used against our communities in a racist context to dilute the vote or to stop people voting, whatever that is?
Well, certainly there was an attempt to dilute the vote. I mean, when you hear the numbers again, that my Hispanic citizen voting age population went from 63.5 to 43. If 20% down isn't dilution, then what is dilution? And to argue that now there's the new 9, which diluted Congressman Green's district, went from 25.3 to 50.41. I mean, that's just a little bitty, tiny, as Gilda Radner used to say in Saturday Night Live. That's an itty bitty bump above 50%. So frankly, give me a break. You diluted it, whatever you did, because you diluted the vote, split it up, and then you raised the African American. So yes, that kind of, by default, might put us in opposition. But it depends on who the candidate is. I've been blessed that I've run citywide. I've had support from the African American community, Asian community. You don't win in Houston citywide without that population. So I think it's unfortunate because they're using race to divide us. Mm-hmm. And for anyone to argue that this isn't about race, the letter itself picked on 4 minority districts. Is that just a coincidence? No. And then they went in and divided them the way they did. So I think it's just, as I said earlier, it's shameful. And I will hope that you all don't support the map and that we can or that we can change it in some way. Because it's never good when we put communities of interest against each other. Communities of interest should be about bringing people together, not dividing them.
Thank you.
You can see right there that how they are trying to manipulate the people, and the people that's even sitting there speaking with those legislators there in Texas. So it's really a shame that they are really, like she said, putting people against each other. But then we have to, the Black people and brown people and others have to show by precept and example that you're not going to do it and get away with it. And that means that if we have to go state by state, as Gary Newsom has said, that we should do it. We should change. The rules, that there are no rules. If they're going to change it, then the rules are gone. There are no rules. And I know Newsom said that they would have to get, the people would have to determine whether they can change it or not. But they don't care anything about the people. They are doing what they want to do either way, without the people having any input into it. And they are not taking it to the people. They are using their legislative power and the governor's seat to destroy majority and minority rule in certain areas. They said, as they said, 60 some percent of at least 58% of the people in Texas are minority people, black and brown people. BJ.
Listen, I think that we are two countries that have been artificially fused together to make one country. That's what I think. We have a nativist, Confederacy loving, what I would call Red America today. Maybe it's Confederacy at another time. And then we have a country of people who are trying to aspire to the ideals of, all people are created equal, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But I think what I'm learning in this time and in this second presidency is that at no point, I think we took for granted that people, when we made progress, people were cool with the progress that was being made. I know I did. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but as the Civil Rights Act was passed, as the Voting Rights Act was passed, as the Fair Housing Act was passed, after the 24th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and Obergefell and Brown v. Board and any other Shelby v. Holder, I was thinking that these cases in certain instances and pieces of legislation in other instances meant that the country was moving forward. But there are people who were not on board with this. They weren't on board with anything. There are still people who are not on board with after the Civil War. At no point did a certain number of people actually agree to the thing that we're doing here. And I think that is being manifested really today. I think that this is emblematic that there is a certain portion of this country that was never on board with what we're doing here in this country. They're just like, democracy be damned, who gonna check me? And so I appreciate that. I appreciate that clip that was played, but I still feel like even in that clip, Democrats are still trying to play this game as if we don't all know why we're here. There is no amount of data. Maybe it's important to present that data for the official congressional record, and I get that. But in terms of trying to persuade people, there is no amount of data that's going to persuade people who are making these decisions to make a different decision than the one that they're making. They know exactly what they're doing. And my fear is that this is going to lead to another civil war. That's my fear. But at the same time, I don't think it's avoidable, because if we have California now wants to retaliate against Texas, and then Illinois said that they may be going to jump in too, and then Florida says, well, hey, we didn't already taken care of Lawson. Well, let's go for what's the one in the middle? Let's go for Maxwell Frost's district. Let's go for that. Now we got states fighting against each other. And when was the last time states were fighting against each other over something, over an issue that maybe seemed small at the time, although it's very big to us, but seemed small at the time and ended up with sedition and people fighting each other. So this, while I certainly support Gavin Newsom doing his thing and every other Democratic state doing this thing, I'm also aware of where this can go when states start attacking one another based on ideology.
Yeah, and the sad part about it, the Republicans don't care. They don't care what might take place. because they are hungry power grabbers. And this is all they are concerned about is power. And they want to make sure that these so-called quote Christian nationalists, who are incompetent people who have no idea about the structure of America and don't care to learn. They don't care about this country. They only care about their power and what they can do to hold on to it. What they for and a lot of them know that this is the last vestige of their power, and so they're going to do everything they can to try to destroy. They will destroy the country with it. It will burn it to the ground, just like they've done cities that black people built in this country. They burn them to the ground and then say, why are you in the condition that you are in after you have burned billions of dollars worth of homes and churches and schools and the productivity that people had put together. And then you say, look at these other people. They came over here and doing well, but you are doing bad. We were saying, our people were saying, leave us alone. We'll go over here and build our own. But when we did build it, they burned it to the ground or flooded it, or they displaced us. And this is what's happening with America right now. And you're right, there is a possibility that you could be looking at the breakdown of law and order in this country because of these so-called Christian nationalists who want only straight white guys to run the country, and they are pushing everybody else out and pushing everybody to the brinks. And it's unfortunate that they are doing that and being allowed to get away with it. And then you got judges that sit on the Supreme Court who are acquiescing everything they do, along with these Congress people now that's on recess to make sure that everybody try to make people forget about the Epstein files that are out there. And so it's a continuation of things that have taken place throughout the history of this country, and it's unfortunate. There,
I guess I didn't look at it. I appreciate BJ's approach on this because I didn't really think about it leading to a civil war. Although we've said time and time again, like we're heading towards civil war, I didn't look at this as being a potential catalyst that would spark that. When you break it down into the battle of the states and that, man, I'm like, oh, that is very true. I guess that does make sense. And you get you to contemplating like how would civil war work in current, modern day, like 2025. Like, just it's a lot to absorb and a lot to think about. I spent, when I was looking at the clip, I was trying to figure out, I was like, now who is that black woman up there sitting up there talking so like positively about
That's the crazy Katrina Pearson lady.
Yeah, I didn't know who she was. I was like, who is she? Because I was like, wait a minute, is she being for real? I was like, she can't be being for real. But I'm like, but she is. She ain't just a new Trump person. She goes back to Tea Party days. So like, she's like one of the original founders of the Tea Party. And I'm like, ma'am, okay. It's just I say this all the time, and I continue to say it. I wish people of color, not all, but some, could break away from or stop suffering from or idealize proximity to whiteness. It is a thing that I oftentimes I look at and I wonder how you can live a lived experience that is a person of color and resonate with such points and ideology that differ so far from what your lived experience has been. Because I looked her up. This lady came from poverty. Her mother had her at 14. she didn't come from money. So I know your experience has to be somewhat different, right? An experience that is not embodied in what Tea Party and MAGA ideology is. So you wonder, how do you get there? Like, what is it? Does everybody live with a pat on the back from white people? Is it the great job? What is it that you're looking for? That, it's her, it's the Byron Donalds, it's the Tim Scotts. Like, what is it? I guess I never understood.
You speaking of Brian Donalds, I was reading today what he says that black children need black fathers in the households, and I'm like, statistics show that black fathers are engaged and involved in their children's life at a higher rate than anybody else, even whites. They may not be with the mother, they might not be married to the mother, or may not be with the mother at all, but they are involved in their children's life around 80%. Statistics shows that. And it's unfortunate that he would be on the stump talking down black fathers, and and in the process talking down black children and black mothers, because because he thinks he's better, or I don't know what his thinking is. But these are the kinds of people that, like you say, they want to be so badly accepted, and their mind been colonized so long that they don't even know how to uh, differentiate between all this craziness out here and being a black person in this country, and how it affects us daily, day in and day out. It's just unfortunate.
I think Byron Donald is an exceptional case. He just has a need to belong, or a need for acceptance. Because that's the same man. When you talk about Byron Donald, you have to acknowledge the fact that he spent 2 years before he was married and 2 years into his first marriage pretending that he was Jamaican, trying to keep up a Jamaican accent with his first wife. Like, yeah. How crazy is that? Like, that's a bit of an extreme, right? You hate being Jamaican. Like, wow. Okay. So, I mean, he's a special case, but I guess, your point being that he condemned, black fathers, and to your point, most fathers, at least all the men that I know who have children, are exceptionally active in their children's lives. I don't know those types who are not, but when we look at it, he also wants to fail to acknowledge the government's role and the responsibility of the division of the black household, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, when do you have that conversation, or is there an excuse for that? EJ, you were going to say something when
I was.
Yeah, you were right. We were talking about something about white proximity to whiteness, and then he said something about Byron Donald. You're about to say something, and you stopped.
Okay, yeah. What I was going to say is, listen, even during enslavement, they were snitches, mm-hmm. And so there were always people who found favor with massa, mm-hmm. And so they are just the modern day snitches. When they had the Fugitive Slave Act, that Fugitive Slave Act went into play primarily by white people, obviously, but yeah. They had their snitches and their people who thought that, if they were in proximity to massa, that would mean something different for them or for their families. And so, these are just the snitches of the 1860s.
The thing about it now, though, is even worse, because at least back then they were, like you said, they were trying to protect themselves, but now you don't have to do that. You don't have to run to massa's table and to get them crumbs, because you got And the thing about it, did he go to FAM, Derek?
Yes. And he is from, we were talking about Byron Donald? Yes, he
Yeah.
went to FAMU. And more importantly, he is from Bushwick, Brooklyn. Like, so it don't get, like, how you get from there to like Naples, Florida, and the mentality of Naples, Florida, it just doesn't go. Like, Bushwick is diametrically opposed or polar opposite to the type of mentality that he exists today. It's crazy to me. I don't get it.
And also, the studies show that when he's in an interracial marriage, which I'm not against that, but the studies show that when a Black person marries into a white family, that the Black person actually brings down the overall wealth. The Black person's wealth is not brought up by marrying a white person. The Black person actually brings the white person's overall household wealth down. Mm-hmm. So people think that they can marry up or marry out of their circumstance, but good old systemic American racism is going to always catch up with you. They're always on time.
I'm telling you, it is, and the sad part about it, him and Clarence Thomas and Scott and others they are so greedy. Their mind has been so colonized. It's so the slave mentality runs so deep that they can't even see what they are doing to hurt the majority, the other 99% of the people who are African American and brown people in this country. They can't see what they are doing to help to become making us the abuse that they are putting on top of the abuse that we already uh, deal with every day of our lives. And so that's what they are doing, but they can't see it for some reason. And I don't know what.
I think like with people like Clarence Thomas, again, I think he's exceptional in the sense that I don't think he follows the same mindset of being brainiacs. I think Clarence Thomas did. I look at him and I look at his career path and trajectory, and he thought, going to his Ivy League school was going to put him in the same positions as his white counterparts when he graduated from law school, doing those very same things. He thought those doors were going to be open to him, and they were like, "No, you still Negro." And he's like, "Well, wait a minute, hold on, I went here," and I think now he's trying to burn the whole house down. I think it's just jaded and bitter. I know he realizes he didn't belong because he experienced that. But same with it's always these people like Candace Owens. Candace Owens experienced racism firsthand, right? And she had to get the help of the NAACP to file suit. Yet she is way over here on the opposite side, talking about Black people this, Black people that, yada, yada, yada. I love white people, which is great. You can do that, but, it's just very different. I don't understand it.
Don't you think it might be that the black thing, it may be that because, and I don't agree with this theory, but my theory is it didn't work for them being black. Okay, because they're always black. So what they try to do is just identify with whites to get the whites' acceptance, to act more like white people than you are acting like black people, for their need for acceptance. That's what I think is going on now. I think they just want to be white, and they see that if I follow the white norms, then it would pay off for me more than it would if I follow the black norms. And so people like Clarence Thomas, and the example you just used a while ago, that he found out that he couldn't be what he wanted to be on his own. Okay, but now he found favor with the white community, and obviously working for him. Donald's the same thing. Mr. Ed up in North Carolina, what's his name? The black Mr. Ed.
Scott, Tim Scott.
Yeah. You know, it's don't he don't remind you, Mr. Ed. But anyway, folks like that, Candace Owens, all these folks, you know. I think they find that if I do like white and act like white, you know, even though I'm still black, I'm just going to be, maybe I can be the house nigga, you know, and maybe working for him. This is nothing but a modern day, these are what we call modern day house niggas, or maybe modern day Uncle Tom, nephew Tom, or whatever you want to call him these days. Okay.
Tom.
Yeah.
But, you know, what was really really bad is they went out and did Trump bidding. They were, oh man, they was all over, you know, they was all down on their knees for Trump. And then Trump didn't give him a position, no way. Scott thought he was going to be vice president. Byron Donovan thought he was going to be, you know, some kind of secretary or something, you know, in some, you know, some position. All of them. But
well, Jerry, it's quite clear, and if people can't see it, they need to go get some more glasses.
Yeah.
Trump is a racist to the core of his heart.
Yeah.
And not only does he acted, I mean, it's obvious. And it's just unfortunate that people didn't call it out when they saw it. You know, they tried to say that he wasn't, you know, when he first came on the scene, everybody tap dance around the fact that he was a racist. Yeah, he was a racist. And he probably was a Hitler, if you ask me. So he just that's my take on it. People want to call it out until it's too late. Now they know that he's a racist. Okay, but we 8 years into this now. Okay, and folks gonna see he's fast just like Hitler. He's no better than Hitler. Okay, and is a Hitler. I call him a Hitler. And he probably the poorest excuse we ever had for president of the United States. He's his word. He's fake. He's a fake president. He's a lightweight president. He's just completely out of his league. And as being a leader of the free world.
And you know the whole thing about Trump is a thief.
Yep.
You know,
con artist, Jerry. He's a con artist.
A thief and a con artist. He's stealing from the foundation of knowledge in this country, the colleges. He forcing them to pay him all this money so that they can still get some grants from the government. But they paying him 10, 15, 25 million dollars, you know, to do what? You know, and then you see lawyers who are bending over backwards for him. I mean, it's really, I mean,
how is his actions any different than the mafia? When the mafia go into a business and shake them down and say, you will provide me money, whether you want to or not, for protection or whatever you want to call it. It's no different. They brought down the mafia for the same thing that Trump is doing, but they don't want to call it out.
He violates the Emoluments Clause, everything. Every law, you know, Vernon, we talked about this when he was in his first term. Every law, every guardrail that we thought was there, he have exploited and destroyed it. He have destroyed it. And, you know, and the Republicans in the House, the Republicans in the Senate, the Supreme Court, and other courts around this country have capitulated to this thief.
But Jerry, I think he figured out what most people probably knew, but they had civility. He figured out that we couldn't do nothing about it. Okay, he don't want that with not enough morals to even try doing it. So there's nothing. Like I say, even right now, the Supreme Court gives an order. Okay? Who's there to enforce it? He knows that nobody's there to enforce it. So who's going to stop me? Who's going to stop me from doing what I'm going to do? There's no real guardrail there to stop me. All the guardrails that we had, Jared, was just guardrails based on our volunteers. And I think that's what the market is all about. You have to agree to do it. Okay?
Yeah, it's sort of like the honor system.
Yeah, exactly. When they're don't honor thieves.
I 100% agree that I think the guardrails were really just merely suggestions. We're coming to the understanding that a lot of the things that we thought were in place to prevent a slow escalation and what I would say now a quick escalation into anarchy, those things were just suggestions about if we were in the mood to do them, not necessarily in place as protective measures to prevent us from going where we're going.
Yeah. And then, it's just like if I do something, what you going to do about it? Okay? Nobody does anything. He doesn't. Nobody do anything about it. Number one, because they probably don't have the guard. We can enforce these collectively as folks, but nobody's challenging. It's just like one thing, Jared. One thing that I do admire about and what people should take a lesson from Jerome Powell. Okay, when Jerome Powell check his ass in real time.
Real time, right?
In real time. But they allow that bastard to say things and do things unchecked. Okay, and they let him get away with a lot of stuff. Normally, everything comes out of his mouth is a lie. But nobody fact checks him. He says something, and nobody push back on it. Nobody, and that's the thing that I kind of think that as a party, we've fallen down as the Democratic Party. We should have somebody out there on the national stage pushing against everything that Trump says and does. Okay, fact check real time. The news media, they don't fact check it. When I'm looking at the news, when somebody says something on the news, I'm going to assume it's true unless somebody says it's not. Okay, because that's just the way we've been trained. But right now, everything he says and everything comes out of his mouth is just a lie. I don't know, man, he's capable of telling the truth. But we're so used to it now that we accept all of his lies as truth. Nobody checks him. And I think if they start checking him, then you begin to see the emperor. They don't have any clothes. Those clothes start falling off. But as long as nobody checks him, he's going to be there.
I'm telling you, and that's the thing about it. It's unfortunate that the media, he talking to people in the media who are supposed to be the fourth estate,
right?
Who's supposed to be reporting what is happening and making sure that what is being reported is true. But then the media is owned by his buddies. The right wing cabal then bought up all of the media, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, everything, ABC, everything has been bought up. And the airwaves belong to us, the people, but the people don't know it belongs to them. And the thing about it, if the people stop buying the advertising that goes to these stations, they would back down as well. But as long as they getting advertising money, they're going to continue to do what they do because they see that nobody's, like you say, is checking them. And this is why they are trying to kill. They are trying their best to kill off PBS and all the other stations that give real time knowledge to people that watch it. And so they cut all the funds, and there's people being laid off right and left at these stations that have for so long fed us Big Bird and all of that, helped us with constitutional stuff, now it's gone. And then, much of it is not going to come back probably anytime soon.
Yep. I agree.
Derek, I'm wondering what your thoughts are about, because I have a somewhat of a different take on him not being checked. In my experience, I feel as though there are parts of our coalition that are checking this man at every stop. And those parts of our Democratic coalition are silenced a lot of the times. And so, for example, we had parts of our coalition that was saying abolish ICE. Those people were called extremists. They were called, far left. Well, now we got ICE showing up in masks with weapons of war in our neighborhoods, kidnapping people. Mm-hmm. But 2-3 years ago, when they were saying abolish ICE, this can get out of hand. This is an unregulated group of people. They were calling us extremists. When we watched Derek Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds, and people were like, we need to defund the police, not abolish the police, but we need to start putting money. The police can't be showing up and being your social worker, your domestic violence counselor, your homeless shelter. Police need to be doing law enforcement, and we need to channel money away from police departments and into programs to help curtail some of this stuff so that we have less interaction with the police and the public. That's what defund the police was. But what we did to the defund the police people, we called them extremists, we ostracized them, we said that they don't speak on behalf of us. So I feel like there are periods of time where people speak up within our coalition, and they're seldom, at best, not listened to, at worst, ostracized. And most of the time, those people look like the people on this screen that are.
Yeah. Well, I 100% agree with you. We see it. I think our most recent example has occurred this year with the vote for the oversight committee, with Representative Crockett and them being silent, saying, no, ma'am, from her own heart, saying, you are a bridge too black. No, thank you. You're good. You are speaking. You're doing the most. And to me, she's doing what needs to be done, right? And I think there's I don't think it's the message, right? Oftentimes, I think it's the messenger. And I think what is, I could be saying something that is very much true, but it's not received from me because I am shaded 3-4 shades too black, right? But my colleague who is white or non-black could say the exact same thing, and it's like, boom, got it. This is great, and we see that, to your point. The message, if it's not palatable for mass consumption, and the message, to me, the message is the message plus the messenger. It's to your point. It's silence. You're sat down and you're told to be quiet. You can't do that, or you have too much power. You have too much say. Oftentimes, it's like you. I think they feel you got too much different. Sit down. And this is where we are. And in every situation, the message has been accurate. Defund the police. Accurate statement. Abolish ICE. Accurate statement. This man's a liar. Accurate statement. Protest the cutting of Social Security. Sir, you are out of order. You get a Democratic man. You need to be censured. You're out of order. What? Are you kidding? Like, again, but I guarantee you, if Jared Moskowitz had said that, it'd have been fine. Just to your point, like, prime example. We've been talking about the abolishment of no, I'll take it a different step. Nobody said not a word about Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying to move that concentration camp from where it is down to South Dade. Ain't nobody said anything about it. Guarantee you, had Senator Shevin Jones said it, everybody would have had mass media. It would have been like war. He needs to be voted out of office. He needs to go. He is not representative of the Democratic Party. They didn't say boo to that lady. Didn't say a word. Again, like it's the message plus the messenger gets to be the message, and it's unfortunate it's where we are. Like, this is why, like, I guess for me, I am okay being unapologetically Black in all spaces, and understanding, you know, for me, and trying to explain or get other people to understand that being unapologetically Black does not mean anti-white. It just means, you know, trying to get them to not to conflate those two things, and that's where I don't know.
We can keep going with it. Examples when they say pack the court. What did people say when we said pack the Supreme Court? Mm-hmm. Oh, that is violating norms. That is extreme. Now look where we at. We in a 6-3 court. Where the previous one was like, we're not gonna give Obama no nominee, and we're just gonna take his nomination. Mm-hmm. And what you gonna do about it? So now we in a court that's gone rogue and has basically said this man is immune to do whatever he wants to do.
Yeah.
But when they were saying we need to pack this court, Biden, you need to pack this court before you leave. So I say all that not necessarily to disagree with you, Mr. Vernon, but just to say that I think that there are voices out there who are pushing back, but I don't know if it's well received when it's not coming out of the mouths of the right complexion for the protection.
And I also think we have to, you know, and I say this all the time because I think, Mr. Vernon, you and I have had this conversation on the show. Like, I think what mainstream people see as pushing back or fighting back, and what those of us who are engaged in this on a daily basis know what to be pushing back, those two things don't match up to folks. So, like, if you're not, you know, oftentimes I feel like people think that Democrats should be out having press conferences that say, like, F Donald Trump, F this, F that. And then they're like, oh, they're fighting. But that's just a press conference where you said F Donald Trump. What are you doing? To me, like, if you're filibustering, i.e. Hakeem Jeffries or i.e. Cory Booker, that's fighting back. But it doesn't, I don't think people correlate that to the fighting back. I don't think people correlate all of the Black Texas legislation or delegates in the Texas State House of Representatives leaving the state of Texas so they won't have the quorum necessary to pass the maps as fighting back. Like, you know, I think we have to level set what exactly people's expectations and match them to reality. Like what it is that you want them to do, to perceive, to believe that they're fighting for. I guess that's.
I think though.
You're on mute, Vern.
Am I on mute? Okay. I think that BJ, to your point, is that I tell you, I believe that the voices that are speaking out, okay, are the same voices that you say they get squashed only because they're out there by themselves, okay? And I want to use this example that Jerry, what you used this example about Christopher Addicts, he's all these soldiers out there, so okay, let's get him. They push him out there, okay? And he don't want to let get killed. Everybody standing back, oh, no, what happened? Okay, I see that. I see the same thing. I see the same thing with, those forces that are willing to speak out. But we don't have enough backup. When they squash that person, another person can be in place to take his place, and you know what I'm saying? I don't see enough of that, PJ. That's what I mean.
We need paid people, like you said, Vern, to be out there who are going from state to state and talking about these different things. I know we have people on the local levels, the state level, but we need a national spokesperson to be out there who can articulate the issues, but have the power behind their voice and their words, and sometimes they might have to curse somebody out, so that so to get the point over. Because younger people, they understand what you're saying when you cursing somebody out. A lot of the elderly might not be in tune with it, but every setting has its place, and I think this time now is to get off of get off of all this. Stay moral. Keep your morals intact, but then you have to leave them at the door sometime and deal with people like you say. We're gonna have to fight fire with fire, because other than that, we're gonna continue to see education being defunded. They defund that, and nobody's saying anything. We're gonna continue to see Medicaid defunded to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. We're going to continue to see SNAP programs, free lunch programs defunded. But you can't defund ICE. People running around with a mask on, and you don't know who these people are. You don't know whether they're law enforcement or not. If you're law enforcement, why you need a mask on?
Modern day Klan.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Well, and two,
Modern day Klan with a different sheet.
So, and I think we do ourselves sometimes an injustice. Like you said something, sometimes you have to cuss people out, right? And I was like,
attention sometimes there. You're like a child. You got to get their attention.
And I don't disagree with you. I am 100% pro cussing people out. Live by it. I am A-okay with that. That is fine with me. However, and I'm talking about the people who look like all of us on the screen, have a tendency, like when we do it, they're like, "Ooh, that's disrespectful. You can't do that." Or, and such as, that's your elder. Well, no, sometimes you have to curse people out. We have to get rid of this because you're older than me. I can't say anything to you. We're not in that. This is not that type of fight in the thing where you have to have that type of elder hierarchy. Sometimes you got to check people, irrespective of each gender, race, all that stuff. It's got to be equal opportunity. And so, I guess it's the removal of identity politics and the things of that nature and how we maneuver. But I like I guess you broke it down, Mr. Vernon, a little bit differently. And I was like, oh, okay, now I get what you're saying. It's not that you don't hear people fighting. It's just that when one is silenced, there's no one that comes back up. There's not a ready next person, ready to set go. And I look at the things like, I think oftentimes our fighters have to balance fighting with protecting the ability to stay within the fight. And I say that, like, I use a great example of that to me is Jamal Bowen, the former representative Jamal Bowen.
Mm-hmm.
He was in, and he represented the Bronx. right? New York Democrat Representative Ross, who talked about the things that are happening with Israel and Palestine. And those people got him right on up out of that seat. They said he was anti-Semitic and replaced him with someone that don't look anything like the people in the Bronx, right? So it's to that point of I fight and I get a primary, Jamal Bowman. I fight and I get gerrymandered out of my seat, Jasmine Crockett. I fight, and then you're something happens to you.
Yeah. Bush, what's her name first? Bush in Missouri.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right.
All these people that was fighting and they was fighting for what was right in the country, for
Right.
the moral center of the country. They all got kicked out of office. But the thing about it, what I'm saying, that the Democrat Party, the National Party, should make sure. And I know Jamal Baldwin is still part of the party, still out there struggling. But I'm saying they should be those are the people they should have pushed to the very top, because they have the ear of people. People like AOC, people like that. But instead, some in the Democrat Party want to push these people down because they don't want them out there, disrupting what they think ought to not be disrupted, when the whole cabal ought to be disrupted. If the house come tumbling down, that means that the foundation wasn't no good in the first place. So you need people like that at the very top to speak, who can speak and not, without faltering when they speak.
But I'm just going to tell you what I am hearing of the voices that I'm hearing that need to be elevated, not what I think needs to be elevated, are that the governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear,
yeah,
the senator of Georgia, Ossoff. These are the voices that people within the party are saying they know how to talk to people, and they may know how to talk to white people, but they don't know how to have conversations like Jamal Bowman and Jasmine Crockett and what's the one from Massachusetts? One with the bald head from Massachusetts. What's her name? Ayanna
Presley.
Ayanna Presley and AOC. So we may be at a point where we just have to have different messengers for different groups. Yeah. We can send John Ossoff to rural Georgia. We can send Andy Beshear to Louisville, Kentucky. But when it comes to speaking on a national stage or having a national presence, I don't think that's it.
But again, I think that goes back to me talking about the message plus the messenger. Like, you hit the nail right on the head with they all like, oh, they know how to talk to people. Well, so who? Who are they talking to, and what exactly are you really saying? To the point. This lady, I was at this event on Friday. We have in Escambia County, we have they're not necessarily a club. I'd like them to be a club. They're not a club. They're called the West End Democrats, or the Perdido Key Democrats. And it's a group that continues to grow. And I love their enthusiasm. I love their spirit. And so they get together once a month. And this Friday, they got together. And so I try to go. I miss maybe one or two, but I try to go. And oftentimes there are people that I don't know. Some of them I know because I've seen them as repeat people. But I remember this one lady asking me, and I was like, wow, she's bold. She said she was talking about the state of the party and where we are and what we're doing. Why are we not out? She was kind of critical as far as why we weren't out knocking doors for candidates and why we haven't gotten behind a governor, right? And I'm like, it's always hard trying to have these conversations with people who like, okay, well, in order to get behind a candidate, you have to have a candidate first, right? Somebody's got to declare that they're running for candidate. And then if there's more than one, we got to say, oh, okay, we got to stand right. She's like, well, y'all can't do that. That's not the right approach. And I'm like, yeah, okay, but it is what it is. When there are more than one person running for the seat, can't do anything, right? And so she goes, she said, well, you need to find somebody and I like your message and I like what you're saying, but you need to find somebody and this needs to be a white man. And you're probably the person to deliver the message. And I was like, it needs to be a white man. Like we had to have a governor, a gubernatorial candidate, or the candidates that we need to find need to be white men. And I was like, oh, okay, she boldly said it. She was unapologetic. Now, the thing about it, it caught me off guard, but I don't know 100% in the case of where we are in the state of Florida. I'm not sure that she's wrong, with a gubernatorial candidate. I don't know that a person of color could win the state of Florida. I don't think so. Just like they're doing, they're propping Byron Donald up to be the next gubernatorial candidate. I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening. Like they're going to show him, no, you might be a Republican. You might have been doing all this shucking and jiving, but at the end of the day, it's going to be wah wah wah. You're not going to be the gubernatorial, candidate for on the GOP side. Or if you are, that's great, because I don't think that those folks will vote for you. I think they'll just break down and vote for an NPA or vote for a Democrat before they vote for someone of color. But it threw me. And even then, so she was just like, yeah, everybody talked about how great my address was. They're like, you speak so well, and I love how energetic you are. And she's like, yeah, but you're not the right person. She'd be the right person. I'm like, okay. And she said it with such a, ooh, and I was like, all right.
I have heard similar, and I've heard a lot of particularly suburban wine drinking white women who all consider themselves Democrats who do not relate to Jasmine Crockett. They think that is too neck rolling, too much nails, too much hair, too much makeup, too much eyelashes, too much. And it sounds like she faced a lot of that within the caucus herself, because she didn't try to run for leadership positions, and she has been told so much or so that she is too much. And so there's an element of truth. Well, I certainly see, if I was there, I'd have said something to her. I'd have been like, I appreciate you being comfortable telling me the truth, but it's your job to start challenging that narrative. She took out her own. She took out white women. She didn't even say a white woman. So she started her own people. Right.
And so I'd already been into a back and forth, and when she said it, I was like, oh, and everybody looked at me like, oh, hell. And some of those folks know, they're like, they're finna snap. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just going to keep pushing and say something. Like, again, I know that but again, let me also say, I also talked about the division amongst Democrats, and I talked about the division here. And I talked about how there's a separate group of people who don't want to interact with Black people, so they form their own group. And some of them are sitting in the group and didn't know that I was talking about them. That's how bad it was. They were like, what group are you talking about? I'm like, oh, the Blue Panhandle Coalition. They're like, I'm in that. I know. But I'm not racist. I didn't suggest that you were. I didn't say everybody was in there. Some of y'all just got caught up by happenstance. But you need to understand the origin of it before you jump in and join. And so they were like, what? I mean, they were so far removed. They were like, oh my gosh, that's despicable. And I'm like, but ma'am, you just said, did I see you at a Blue Panhandle Coalition meeting? No, you ain't never seen me there. And you ain't never seen nobody that looked like you. There's never been a possibility that I could have been mistaken of being a Blue Panhandle Coalition. But it's just funny the way people think and the way they are. But I have a question on a different topic since we're along the lines of this conversation. Did everybody see the new community that has popped up? And I believe it's your home state, Mr. McIntosh, in Arkansas, the whites only community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to see, what are you mad? Are you upset? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you not? What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. Let those people go on over there by themselves. Put a fence around, build up a gate, do like Trump. Put a wall up. So, and stay behind that wall. But then don't come over on our side of town. You know, stay over there. You got your sundown town. It's nothing new. You
Right.
know, don't come over here burning ours down though, because we're not trading with you anymore. You know, don't come over here. Stay over there. Keep that wall up. Have your little nooses and hang yourself over there. Burn your effigies, whatever you want to call it. Do that, but stay over there. You know,
Right.
because soon as you see us doing well, you want to come and burn it to the ground because you are jealous. Your hatred, your violence come unglued. You lose. You're already sick. Racism is a sickness, a mental problem that's eating the brains of these fools. So let them go on over there. That's going to, all of them that want to go, let them go. Just get them away from us. He shouldn't be on our planet anyway. Get out of here.
So they're trying to expand into other states. Do you
Yeah.
think that they should expand this concept? And should this be a concept in all 50 states? Should they have
Hey,
because to
Derek.
be clear, just so that everybody's level set, the qualifications for this are you cannot be Jewish, you cannot be a member of the LGBT community, and you cannot be non-white. Those are the three stipulations.
Mm-mm.
Hey,
Yeah,
Derek.
that's right.
For the benefit for everybody that might be listening, and unlike me, I'm not as familiar with that concept. Give us the basic of it first. I know we're talking about it, but what the deal with this? And explain it to us first.
So what they've said is they've created a community in Arkansas. I don't remember what the name of the community is or what it's called.
I
But-
forgot the name too.
The concept is,
Suburbs.
what is it?
Suburbs. Go ahead.
But the concept is that they want to be able to preserve their white culture. Not sure that I can identify what white culture is, but they want to be able to preserve their ways of white culture.
Raisins and potato salad.
So
Okay.
it as to make sure that there's not a blending or a loss of their white culture. They want to come together, not on the basis of race, as they've indicated, because this is not a basis of race, but they want to preserve white culture and white identity. And they're doing this because of the blending of America, because of low birth rates. They cited something else. I forget what it is. Workforce. A lot of women are entering the workforce. So they want to get back to some type of upholding of white identity and white culture. So they have created this community that they want to expand. Their next step was to expand into Missouri as well. And anybody is welcome, but except for non-whites, Jewish, and members of the LGBT.
And I want them to have their culture, their heritage, because their culture consists of lynching, murder, mayhem, genocide, you name it, stealing people property, burning, killing, looting. So, take that on with you. All your culture, all your heritage, take that with you. Like I say, build that wall. I'm with that. But leave me the hell alone. So if you see me riding down the highway, don't come from behind the wall. Stay back there. You know, I don't want to stop at your stores. If it's your store, put it up there that says white only. I want that. So you don't accidentally, you know, do like these truck drivers that's come up missing and lynching, and the first thing the police say, oh, they committed suicide. No. You know, you gonna go you delivering stuff all the way to Carolina somewhere, and all of a sudden you go down there to lynch yourself, you know, and there's been about 5 or 6 of them in the last few months. So, you know, but before they cut them down, they declared it a suicide.
Most recent being the man from Birmingham, who was
Birmingham,
found somewhere out in, where is it, Arkansas, or somewhere down that stretch that they say
yeah, somewhere down
is
there.
notorious for long distance truck drivers of color. You know.
Yeah,
Well, Louisiana is right on south of Arkansas. And
yeah,
I mean, I give kudos to these people for saying the quiet part out loud, because in Louisiana is extremely segregated. It's already white only municipalities. They just don't call them white only municipalities, but they white only municipalities in function and in operation. There are portions of New Orleans, as black as New Orleans is, there are portions of New Orleans where you will go that are strictly white.
yeah.
And you know them when you know them when you get there. And so the idea that, you know, this whites only type of thing is really not new. It's just that they are the ones brave enough to call what they want and say, this is what we want. Because that's the way it is in Louisiana. When they tried to integrate schools, them schools ain't never been integrated. They got integrated and the white folk left the schools. Now all the schools are all black, or at least majority black, 80-90% black.
And it's not just in the South. You know, places like Illinois, you know, California, everywhere you go in this country, there are white communities and black communities. There are white communities where you cannot go through there without being harassed. You know, so there it's not, like you say, it's nothing new under the sun. You know, everywhere I've been, I've seen the same thing. And I travel throughout this country in many places, except out west. But you know, it's the same thing. So it's nothing new about people who don't want to live with around other people. And they've done a study, says some people have never talked to black people at all, or have a black person and ever had a black person to come to their house. And I'm like, so what? You know, so what? I don't care. It's no big deal to me. You know, just leave me alone. Just leave us alone. You know, you know, if I'm riding down the street, stop at a service station, I shouldn't be up in somebody's tree, and then the sheriff come by and declare, oh, they committed suicide with their hand tied behind their back on top of a limb that's 10 feet tall. You know, no. So yeah, I'm with it.
The main opponents of this seem to be mostly people in the Legislative Black Caucus in Arkansas. They all saying that they deeply concerned about this. And I would be like, these people have a proclivity to violence. Let people be with themselves. Why would you want these people in your neighborhood, number one? And then there's another one talking about this is a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1866. You think them people care?
Right.
And this does not represent the Arkansas I know and serve. Yeah, it do.
Yes, it do. Yeah, it do. I was born in Arkansas. My folks was from Elaine, Arkansas, where they massacred people in Elaine, Arkansas, in Tennessee, in Texas, you know, all over this country. Chicago, Illinois, where they massacre people. St. Louis. Any black person that said that, they don't know. They don't have no facts of history. because there's been a purge taking place in this country for years. You know, you know, the bloody Sunday was nothing compared to the early 1900s when they was killing people all over this country.
Mhm.
You know, it's you know,
What's that narrow neck, cross-eyed lady name? That's the governor.
which was
The lady,
Huckabees.
Huckabee.
Yes.
Sarah Huckabee.
She ran against, right? She ran against a black guy who is a literal astrophysicist.
yeah, right.
I mean, like probably one of the smartest people in that state,
Yeah.
probably in the country, let alone in that state. And her narrow neck self just pranced right in just because she got, you know.
She was the liar. She was the press secretary for Trump. She lied every day. And then her dad, who was the governor at one time, Huckabee, her dad, all of them, you know, he was a preacher, so you know, they supposed to have some moral, but she carried the water for Trump for years. But I think what hit her when Trump told her, "No, son, FEMA can't help you." she, she was begging Trump for some FEMA money when them tornadoes hit down through there, and he said, "Nah, nah." I don't know if he ever gave her the money or not. But they finally went down there to Texas, but they were days late getting there because Trump. They said, we're gonna cut FEMA money so the states can't get it. So, and then the thing about it was worse than that. We live in the eye of the hurricane, and here in the state of Florida, in Oklahoma, in Texas, all of these places are vulnerable to hurricanes, tornadoes, and all kinds of downwinds and everything else. And out west is fires. And and then they keep saying, "Oh, these are 100-year floods." No, they're not. They're happening every week. The climate been changed, fool. 100 years ago, you only thing the methane was being put in there was cow fart, but now. You got all kinds of stuff being put in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I think this is where I'm going to reach back into my Saturday school days, and I'll say that I too I don't share the sentiments of the Arkansas State Black or Legislative Caucus. I'm like going over there. Matter of fact, I'd love to see one in every state. That's what you want to do. Give them some land. Go be on over. That's fine.
That's no different. I like that idea. I like that idea.
But what I want them to do is, if you don't want non-blacks, no LGBT, and no Jewish, then I want you to do that across the board. And that means any invention, any influence, or thing that you benefit from that are derived from any person of color, any person who is a member of the LGBTQ community, or any Jewish person, you have to go without. So you have to turn in all of those things that you have in your life, which then means you ain't got no internet. You ain't got no cell phone. Your town can't have no traffic lights. You can't have no air conditioning. Like I want that to be void of all of that stuff. You can't listen to no music. Because I don't know if there's a music that hasn't been influenced or have some type of derivation from Black music, whether it be from ancestral or current. But certainly can't listen to country music because that ain't yours. You damn sure can't listen to Lil Jon and what's that short man name who said I like rock. What's that little man? From New Orleans.
Yeah,
Lil
I
Wayne?
know.
Yeah, Lil Wayne. Thank you.
Yeah.
That means you can't listen to no Lil Wayne, no Jay Z, no Beyonce, no none of that stuff.
You
You
can't
can't
plow
listen to
your
jazz.
farm.
Huh?
You can't plow your farm.
Can't plant right. Can't harvest no cotton. You can't do nothing. Like you can't have no peanut butter. You can't do like all of that stuff. I need you to be without it. So if you're gonna be without it, be all the way without it to me. And that's the way I would like to.
And no light bulbs.
No light bulbs, right?
You know, and you definitely can't do no blood transfusion.
No blood.
No
So if you
street,
see
no street lights. I mean,
No
no
street
street,
lights.
no
That's
street light, no stop signs, no stop lights.
Yeah. Take your culture
Yeah.
and your heritage on with you behind that
so
wall.
If you got
you
one.
grow your potatoes,
Yeah.
and then you can't take a bath. Because black folks taught indigenous Europeans and the Moors how to bathe. So you can't take a bath either. So do all that stuff. Just be all the way. Like to me, that's the way I want it to be. That would be my only caveat to say. I'm with it, but take all of the influence with it as well. So you can't
tubs, all that.
turn in everything, leave all that stuff. I'm coming by and getting a collection plate. Coming back and taking all your household goods that have anything to do with black influence, you got to turn over.
But you know, but I don't. The concept of it to me, y'all, it don't sound like a bad idea because let me tell you why I say that. I think America is a pluralistic society as it is. Okay, and I think Minister Farrakhan was trying to tell us that years ago that you know we don't want necessarily to be integrated. We good with being segregated, but long as we have the same rights and resources and you leave us alone and stuff like that, and let us build our own nation. And so I think that's good. Let them have a white culture. Long as that culture stays on their reservation, so to speak, what they call it. Let them on their reservation. We stay on our reservation, our plantation, which you want to call it. But you know, and everybody got the world is almost segmented like that anyway, but not to that degree. But if they want to go to that degree, I don't have a problem. I'm like you, Jerry. Good riddance. You know, if you want to be over there, take all your culture with you. That's not good for us. Okay, like I said, and the hate and all that kind of stuff. Take it with you. And so I think the world will be better.
Right.
Within your own community, as long as you didn't interact with nobody else. Okay.
And take that pad machine with you because that's the only thing you invented.
The what? What?
Pad machine.
I went to a all black, all male high school in New Orleans. Only all male, all black, religious-based high school in the country, believe it or not, or Catholic high school in the country. So my AP calculus teacher was a black woman. My AP physics professor was a black man. It wouldn't be a problem for me. I've been in all black environments, so it's not a shock to me when I see black professionals because like I said, my physics professor was a black man. When I went to an HBCU, my biochemistry professor was a black woman. My immunology teacher professor was a black man. So seeing black people thrive was not foreign to me. And I think that is why I'm very, very thankful that I had a black upbringing and an education, but I did not always feel that way because when I got to medical school, and I did not go to an all black medical school like a Meharry or a Howard or Morehouse, it was a culture shock because they don't run things the same way. They're not like us, like Kendrick Lamar said. So initially I was like, I understood why my parents did it, but I was like, but you really didn't prepare me to be in the real world, because I kind of was insulated. And I felt that way probably for about 5 years, that I was like, y'all set me up for failure because you all put me in a sort of a situation where I was in an environment that really wasn't real life. But now thinking back on it, I am so glad that I was in that environment, because I don't cap or have to perform. I don't really care what the white gaze looks like, because I didn't grow up that way. All the professors were Black, all my teachers were Black, all my mentors were Black. So that's just what it was. I didn't even know what it was like to perform under the white gaze. I never had that experience. So until medical school. But yeah, I'm down for it.
Jerry and I can identify with you because we grew up in an all-black environment like that as well. And it was a shock when we integrated. Okay?
Yeah.
But you know, being in an all-black experience was great. The only thing that, but the problem with it is that we just have equal resources. If we were to have had equal resources, come out, look at the example of how black folks turn out in this country, even at an unequal scale. But we turn out to be very resourceful and very successful people anyway. Just think what we could have done if we would have had equal resources to our white counterparts. Okay? And so that's what I'm saying now. If everybody wants to community, fine. As long as everybody got equal resources, no problem with me.
You know, one of the things, when you look back across history, you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, they had hotels.
Right.
You know, they had churches, they had schools, they had businesses. You know, when you look at here in Florida, same thing. You look in Tennessee and other places where that was burnt to the ground or flooded. It's houses right now. I was reading, having to run across yesterday a place called Couchville in Mississippi. When they built the dam, they flooded, they moved pushed the black people out of the town that they had built, pushed them out and flooded it, just like Lake Lanier in Georgia. They pushed the people out and flooded the town. So other people, it become their playground with their boats and all of that to this day. And, you know, to this day, there's people going out there and getting drowned too. I ain't wishing that on nobody, but hey, these are the things that happen when you destroy whole people. You know, there are towns sitting underwater right now. There were concentration camps. There's a place called the Devil's Punch Bowl in Natchez, Mississippi. The Devil's Punch Bowl. People need to read about that. There's other concentration camp that happened in Mississippi. Hoover. I was reading about that. Hoover, this is how he became president, because they thought they made him a hero of the flood that took place in Mississippi, but they put the black folks in concentration camp. They weren't allowed to leave. They had to work for the white people that were there for free. The white people were getting food, the black folks just got some bread to eat and drinking probably muddy water. Mm-hmm. So these, you know, but when you go back to all of the places that we have lost over the years, over the centuries, you're talking about trillions of dollars worth of, you know, Hilton wouldn't be nothing compared to some of the black places that we would have today. You know, we would own Waldorf Astoria type of buildings. You know, we would have all kinds of land, property, and ownership. You know, our network would be around $16 trillion right now, instead of, you know, 1 or 2 point some trillion dollars. But our network would be around $16 trillion in assets that we would have available to us with colleges, The reason we have HBCUs is because we couldn't go to other colleges. And then when they integrated the school, they moved the best of the best away from us. Teachers, principals had to become assistant principal. Teachers had to become assistants. So all of those things did irreparable damage, as far as I'm concerned, to us. A lot of people, oh, everything is not all right. We see the residue right now of what is taking place because was going to have somebody like Trump to rise up in this country who don't care, who don't read, who don't, he just signed things in the law, and you got the Steve Millers and all them behind these racist Christian nationalists who are putting these bills together, the Heritage Foundation and others who are putting these bills together that Trump just, well, tell them what it's about. He signed and then tell them what it's about. Like, this fool ain't even read a sentence of this. But Derek, before we go, I got to talk about, and we're going to change the subject for a minute, to Black women in the country. Because Black women are losing their jobs. And over 300,000 jobs been lost from Black women in this country, who are the most educated people in the country. And many of them because they worked it, and we got to keep letting people know. Many of them because they worked in the government, because they worked for the Navy, they worked for the Army, they worked for big parts of the military, state and federal government. So now over 300,000 Black women have lost their job. And I was looking at some of the interviews. Women who have children in college, women who have bought homes are now out of work and could possibly be out of housing. So when you look at that and you see the things that are taking place in this country, we have to, that means that we're gonna have to, Black people are gonna have to stick together some kind of way to save ourselves as much as possible. Last in May, they said 100 and some thousand jobs was created. Then they downgraded. It was 19,000 jobs because they had to downgrade it. Then in June they had said all these jobs, 14,000 jobs. Less than 50,000 jobs were created in the last 2 months. So that lets you know how bad things are getting. And then this clown still talking about tariffs.
Yeah. So what I want to share, so since we're on that, we're talking about it, just talk about under Trump, and you're right, it's Black women, but certainly we can just under Black Americans in total. Under Trump, Black Americans have lost 571,000 jobs and just 390,000 this year alone, and we're only halfway through the year. Black youth unemployment has skyrocketed from 13.4% last summer to 21.7% right now, which is a 62% increase. Black unemployment soared to 7.2% in July, which is a 16% increase since Trump took office and 50% higher than the record low 4.8% under Biden Harris. Those numbers come from the Labor Department, and they undermine Trump's campaign argument that he would create new jobs from Black Americans by getting rid of the competition. Like if you look at it, and I got a graph since we're talking about it, just put it up real quickly. I wanted to show this is the employment level for Black Americans from, again, the Department of Labor Statistics. And if you look at it, I started it from January 2021, from the time Biden took office. And if we move forward, we see that the employment level has continuously increased in terms of the number of jobs. And we're going here and we're up here. Now, if we then we get all the way to January 2025 and see where we are, we've seen a continual decline in the level of Black employment, from to where we are up until May. or this gives us until July, which is about 20,484. So if you just look at it, you see the growth under Biden and where it is, and we offset that to the decline that we're sorely seeing under Trump. So you're absolutely correct. So this is what, when they said, when Republicans asked Black folks, what do you have to lose? Try Trump. What do you have to lose? Your job. But that's what it is. You know, that should have been everybody's number one answer is your job. So,
and on top of that, he fired the guy that gave the labor statistics.
right, because he's mad. It undermined what he said.
He turned around and fired him.
Right,
So,
turn around and fire him. Well, we are certainly out of time for this evening. Thank you guys for spending your Sunday evening with us. Please be sure to tune in next Sunday, which will be the 10th, at the same time, 7:00 p.m. If nothing else, have a great week, everybody. Be productive. If you know someone who needs to register to vote, sign them up. And we will see you next time, same week, same time.
And don't forget August the 16th.
Yes, don't forget
ground.
August 16th, equal ground. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.